There we go. I've started re-recording now on Skype. Yes, so we are good to go.
Right. Yes. So I was saying the fact that Robert Mugabe was on targeted sanctions, in other words, he couldn't be allowed to travel to the Western world, would actually have made these people give them enough time to work for their country. There's no reason for them to fly all over the country wasting money when the country doesn't have money.
Yeah.
So in a way, yes, it had an impact in that for the first time we saw these 126 people that are listed in this chapter 6 unable to travel, and able to externalize the funds to the Western world, because that is exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
They would every year externalize the funds. They go into fancy hotels all over the world with their families, with their villages, with their cronies, and when Zimbabweans are suffering. And one is that also their businesses, in a way, they were affected in terms of if they were to transfer money to USA or to Europe, that was also targeted. Only for people who were on the targeted sanctions. And I also highlighted about 126 of them. I can mention some of the names. Again, Robert Mugabe is one. Emerson Mnangagwa, Sekeramai, Sidney Sekeramai, Xavier Kasukuwere is on targeted sanctions. Obet Mpofu. And you see, they were right. They normally don't just put you under targeted sanctions without proper due research. There will be empirical evidence that you, in terms of why they are targeting you, and in most of these cases, it was people who perpetrated violence against the people of Zimbabwe. Unleashing terror against their own people, murdering their own citizens. The rule of law. All the Western world and the Americans have been saying is that you respect the rule of law. And those who are found on the wrong side and perpetuating violence, yes, we're on targeted sanctions. And as far as USA is concerned, they are still on targeted sanctions. And I think it's the right thing. It sends a very clear message.
Yeah.
That if you commit crimes against humanity in your country, we are living now in a globalized world. It is no longer just a national issue. Mm-hmm. Because the violence in Zimbabwe is institutionalized and systemic. It is at the core of the government itself. And the government uses all tools at their disposal against innocent civilians. So yes, in that case, it is important that the United Nations are actually surprised that even the African Union didn't intervene.
Okay, there's a question
I'm glad that we now see signs of true democracy in Africa as far as the ECOWAS in West Africa.
Okay, can I just respond quickly to Tendai? Elliot is in the UK, he's not in Zimbabwe. Okay, are there any questions on your side that you want to address before we move on?
Yes, I think I can see there's a bit, there are some questions. Right, you are right. Okay, I think most of these are not questions, but confirmation on what I am saying.
Okay.
I'll keep scanning. If there are any questions, then I think I will.
To the issue. Okay, first of all, I forgot to congratulate Cameroon on winning the Africa Cup of Nations today. Well done to them, to Cameroon. And finals. And well done to Zimbabwe taking part, although we left quite early. I wanted to touch on the issue of Pastor Ivan Mawarire, who is in rearrested. We know he was arrested before he left Zimbabwe. He stood trial within 24 hours. There were rumors that he might be sentenced to life in prison. What the government was saying is a treasonous offense in which he was mobilizing people to boycott, just boycott the country in general. Then we know that he was released. He then went to South Africa. He said he will be back. Then eventually ended up in the United States. We know he had a young family, a young wife who was also pregnant, 8 months. So the rationale probably was that he was putting his family first. But there's been mixed reactions now with his return, because upon his return to Zimbabwe, on his own this time, he's left his family in the United States. He has been arrested. He was arrested at the airport on arrival. He was taken to Harare Central, and reportedly he is now in Chikurubi Maximum, Section D, which is reserved for men and rapists and hardcore criminals. So that's where he's reported to be right now. And I think he's only going to reappear in court on the 17th. Bail has been, I don't know whether it's been applied for or denied, but he's not out on bail. So he's still incarcerated. But before we continue with Pastor Mawarire, we know there's also another pastor, Pastor Mgaza, who is also incarcerated. I think he's the famous Victoria Falls pastor, placard in protest against the president, and had a meeting in Victoria Falls. Reportedly, he's also in prison, and people are asking which prison he's in, because no one seems to know how he is and all that. So what is your take on the mixed reactions with the Pastor Mawarire in particular?
Yes, I think I've been following the case of Mawarire, and I think it is very unfortunate that he was arrested. Zimbabwe has got a very clear constitution in terms of freedom of expression and freedom of speech. And as far as I understand, he has not committed any offense other than to express his own feelings and what he the past 6 years. They failed the people of Zimbabwe. That is not a crime. And it's not a crime to call for them to resign and give way for people who can act the lives of the people of Zimbabwe. People who be accountable, people who actually will respect the rule of law of Zimbabwe. 37 years after independence, we have nothing to show for our independence other than scars of brutality by the regime. So yes, he's done virtually nothing to deserve the arrest. All he was doing was to express his own aghast with what is happening in Zimbabwe. And it is it's enshrined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. But it shows that ZANU-PF bankruptcy. And it always tried to find a scapegoat for its own failings, including these targeted sanctions. So we hope and trust who Constitution and that you'll be acquitted. We hope that will be earlier than anticipated, because there's no reason whatsoever to continue to incarcerate murderers out there, murderers who are actually ZANU-PF. MPs, some of them ZANU-PF. They've not been brought to book. cries for arrest and evidence pointing to that direction. But here we are. We continue to arrest the opposition, to arrest civic groups. Yes, before it has been a trend whereby the government would arrest opposition parties. It is a new trend that they are arresting civic groups or civic activists. But it is quite shocking. Do Zimbabwe good at all, both within the region, in the eyes even of investors. You know, it means we are not respecting our own constitution at all.
Yeah.
And Zimbabwe is what it is now because of lack of rule of law. So I hope and trust that he will be found not guilty, and then he can continue in his civic role and improve the people of Zimbabwe and conscientize the people of Zimbabwe. Now, I think you also talked about Pastor Muganza.
Yes.
Yes. I think you'll find that maybe most of our viewers might not even know who Pastor Muganza is. But he's a fearless person who staged his one-man demonstration in Victoria Falls when there was a summit in Victoria Falls, in which he was denouncing Mugabe, calling Robert Mugabe to in a similar fashion to Itai Dzamara. It was a matter of time that they would to arrest him. He was lucky to have lasted long enough than Itai Dzamara, who then disappeared, and up to now they've not accounted. It is unfortunate that Zimbabweans, we don't seem to support each other, especially our foot soldiers, who day in, day out, they are being incarcerated. And Pastor Mawarile's case has been, because of the previous events. Now, if you look at Pastor Muganza, he was like a lone demonstrator. But I would expect that we Zimbabweans would support every Zimbabwean who is fighting a noble cause, irrespective of political parties, for as long as that person is fighting the regime of Robert Mugabe, because that is what we want. Whether you are fighting as an opposition, whether you are fighting this is the time for us to come together. And as we faced 2018, for as long as Zimbabweans we are not united, we've got a challenge at our hands. And we need to be united to be able to defeat. If you think that is a no-starter in terms of 2018, without us coming with strategies that are new strategies to unseat this regime, probably we'll find ourselves in 2018 speaking the same language, crying for rigged elections. And I cannot envisage another year of 5 years by ZANU-PF. I call upon all Zimbabweans to unite. And I think it is very important that people, apart from this politics, people need to be involved. People need to come out there and get involved. Now we are talking about the ZEC is saying they are introducing biometric voter electoral system. Lita Makarawa has just confirmed that the biometric does not extend to the polling station. It's only so ZANU-PF will still be able to rig elections, and we know what that means. For as long as Zimbabwe, Zimbabweans will act raw in liberating ourselves. ZANU-PF will continue to unleash violence, continue to rig elections. So the time is now for us to get united, be of making sure that we vote. For any reasons you are unable to vote, making sure that you are part and parcel of the process. You might not be part and parcel. You might not be part of the problem, but every part of the solution. So
Thank
yes.
you very much, Elliot. So I think to the end of this show, we were discussing Chapter 6 of Zimbabwe, My Home, My Frustration, by Elliot Pfebve, Articles of Defiance. Chapter 6 is made a hero in Zimbabwe and why. Looking at 11 August as the Heroes Day and great our heroes, but who is responsible nominating those people that go to Heroes Eka? And one last point, did you say that the president already has a place at Heroes?
Indeed, yes. Which is, I know many people might not be aware, but there's already, the graves are numbered at the Heroes Eka. And the Mugabe is number 1.
So it's not, and it's not yet occupied.
So
it's number 1.
So he's got a reserved grave already, which is actually labeled number 1.
Thank you again, Elliot, and thank you, viewers, for watching. Oscar, thank you for joining us. TC, Cyprian, Rey, ¿cómo está, compadre? Aquí estamos. That's a bit of Spanish for you, Elliot. I'll teach you a bit of Spanish. So we've come to the end. Next week, we're going to look at Chapter 7. And Chapter 7 is Pictures of Defiance. There are some pictures, and I'll be asking Elliot to give us the story behind the pictures. They say a picture a YouTube live is worth 1 billion. So thank you. And Facebook lives. Thank you for watching. We've come to the end. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Abi. I can see, Abi, you actually put a paragraph about your wish for us to unite to free Pastor Mawarire. I think this is that we Zimbabweans must be united. For whether we are talking about activists or politicians, any opposition party, anybody who is arrested for exercising their right, we must support those people. Unless we do that, and we cannot win the elections if we go in 2018 divided and fighting each other as opposition. So we need that unit of purpose. Thank you very much. I can see quite a lot of people. Tarirai there, Tafi, well done, well done. Thank you very much. Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.